Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know one thing. Where the hell is Joey? He said he was going to be here. We'll see what happens. If you can't score and you can't beat them, that's the line for the day. If you can't score, you can't beat them. The Astros are loading up on the bullpen, and nobody's going to be able to beat them. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks. And hopefully, Joey, if he crawls his ass out of bed.
You want to go back home to Oregon and make 100 babies? Great. I'm in no position to tell anyone how to live. But sneaking out like this, quitting, you regret it for the rest of your life. Baseball is what gets inside you. It's what lights you up. You can't deny that.
It just got too hard.
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. Yeah, the armchair.
Hey, howdy, hi. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. I'm Mac McGee, and I believe Joey's on the way. Hell, I don't know. You know how these millennials are. They're weaker than cotton candy, man. I get a text from him today. I got a tickle in my throat. I don't know if I'm going to make it today. All I reply is, Jesus, man. And then he tells me he's coming to the show, and here we are, I don't know, 5 minutes in, he's not here. So whatever. Cotton candy may or may not be here on the show. We'll see what happens. But anyways, this is why these videos that you see that always crack me up. You'll see them on TikTok a lot, and it's usually a Gen Xer making the video, and they'll say, my generation this, your generation that, we are not the same. This reminds me of the first thing that popped in my head the other day was Simone Biles quit because she had to work on her mental health. And all I can think of is that my generation had Carrie Strug with a broken foot out there winning a gold medal. Your generation has Simone Biles who dipped because she wasn't feeling, she wasn't all there. She just not feeling it. Our generation is not the same, my friend. It is a cotton candy generation. I never would have thought it at the time because I always thought that our generation was nowhere near as tough as the ones before. But the steep drop-off from Gen X to the current generations of what millennials and then Gen Z, it's night and day. It is night and day. It is hilarious to me when you see the big differences on what they are willing and what they are not willing to do, right? And just toughness kind of goes out the window. Anyways, speaking of toughness going out the window, the NBA draft is today. So, talking about a bag of sissies. Here we go. You're really drafting 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids today, giving millions of dollars, and hope that they try really hard. I don't think that's going to work much anymore. Did you see the Aaron Rodgers presser? He is a pompous ass, is he not? He is just an ass. It is unbelievable how Aaron Rodgers has been always portrayed for the last, several years, that he was really tough. And he was, this guy that everyone wanted to emulate, right? That everyone wanted to emulate. And then Tom Brady, he was the soft one, and everybody hated Tom Brady. I'll tell you what, the tables are turning on that. Because you got Tom Brady playing with a torn MCL and won a Super Bowl on torn MCL. Then Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't want to show up for camp because he just doesn't like a lot of the instant interviews that took place when guys weren't re-signing Green Bay. And he wants to have full control, essentially. That's essentially what he wants. I think what he wants is what Tom Brady has, which is essential control. Tom Brady doesn't have full control in Tampa. He's got essential control, right? That's why Tom Brady won the Super Bowl this year, is because Tom Brady knows how to win. He knows the guys to bring in, et cetera, et cetera. Let's be honest. The Buccaneers, they sucked. They sucked for 15 years. The organization was garbage. But all of a sudden, they're great again, right? There's a huge, huge gap in between the Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Buccaneers and Brady's Buccaneers. In between, you had a lot of junk. You had a lot of Sean King. You had a lot of just junk coming through the Tampa Bay system. You know what the culture must have been night and day from when Jameis Winston was the starting quarterback to what Tom Brady is today? It's got to be night and day. But the point is, Aaron Rodgers whined and moaned. He did get one of his players back here. They got Randall Cobb. I don't know how great of a thing that is. Randall Cobb is in his early 30s now and really has done absolutely nothing since he left Green Bay. Maybe getting reacquainted with his buddy Aaron Rodgers will help things, but I'm not banking on it. I'm not banking on it at all. Randall Cobb, that's the big piece that you wanted to bring in. It's going to make this team different. Randall Cobb, that's going to be the guy. I get that you need someone other than just Devontae Adams, but this isn't 2014. Randall Cobb is a shadow of his former self. We'll see what happens with that. Let's go ahead and get into the first quarter of the actual quarterbacks. All right, let's go ahead and dive into this. The NBA draft is tonight, and I'll be interested to see what their numbers end up being. Because with the Olympics going on, you know a lot of people are going to watch that. Most people, I would think, I don't care if you're all pissed off at the demonstrations and whatnot, you really sure aren't picking the NBA over the Olympics if you're worried about demonstrations. So that can't be a reason. So you have to be picking, if you're going to watch one or the other, it has to flat out be because you find one enjoyable and one exciting to watch and the other not. And watching a draft is damn near like watching paint dry compared to seeing live sporting events. I haven't looked and seen what NBC is going to have on tonight up against it. But it doesn't really, I would think it's going to be the women's gymnastics because I do see that their all-around competition is underway. And remember, we're 13 hours in front of us. So it's almost 10 o'clock Tokyo time right now, p.m., 10 p.m. Tokyo time. So most of our events are winding down. So whenever you watch tonight on the NBC or was it CNBC and what's the other way, NBC Sports, we already know what's happening. And so this has a lot to do with why the ratings are so piss poor. It's because everybody gets all the information at once thrown at them. And you know who won before you ever turn on the television tonight. And yet it's not like this isn't March Madness where you're used to going, I'm going to dip out early today at work because I'm going to go home, or I'm going to call out sick because I'm going to watch the Olympics. It's just not a thing. So mainly because it's once every 4 years. And I believe that has much more to do with it than it does the demonstrations. The fact that the information at the touch of our fingertips. If you really are interested, you really want to know who won the gymnastics event, you'll know today before noon. You'll get home, most people get home from work, whether they've recorded or let's say they're going to watch it live on NBC stream tonight. It's going to be 8 hours later. You already know. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people just don't get in on this. And it really is dumbfounding. But when you look at it all together, what are you more likely to watch?
A rerun of the Olympics or the NBA draft? I'll be honest with you. I think I'm going to go with the Olympics. There's some good baseball today, and it's all going on during the daytime. We'll see if it happens. Philly, Washington is supposed to be set to do a doubleheader today because of their COVID shutdown. We'll see if that actually happens. Supposedly, Washington is supposed to be going and grabbing folks and getting them to the stadium. So I don't think it's going to be quite the shutdowns that we've seen in the past. But that's devastating. Can you imagine if Washington was actually in the playoff race? Devastating to lose 12 players to COVID for what, bare minimum, between 7 to 10 days, depending on contact tracing. I mean, my God, that would be a gut punch. What if that were to happen to the Red Sox right now, as well as they're playing, and you take 12 of their best players across the board and you take them all out at once? That would be devastating in the middle of a pennant chase, especially a team that is not only are they playing well, they weren't expected to be where they are today. What if that were to happen to the Giants? What if that were to happen to the Astros? Well, there'd probably be a lot of people clapping. But the point is, that is devastating. That is a story that's going to go a little bit under the radar because Washington's not in it this year. But if they were in it, oh my God. But the number one pick overall, I believe, is going to be Cade Cunningham. And the Oklahoma State, 6'8", 220 pounds. We remember when he, in the NCAA tournament, we were expecting him to really do something. He really didn't. But overall, he's looked upon as the best prospect. The best prospect whatsoever. Jalen Green is being looked upon as the second best prospect. He is one of those guys that did not play college. He went to basically one of those academies to play. And the next big name you're going to know is Evan Mobley from USC. He's number 3. Jalen Suggs, number 4. And then it's pretty much most people have got Scotty Barnes now going toward the Orlando Magic at number 5 from Florida State. I think that would be a big deal for Orlando to get a Florida State guy, even though he only played 1 year. It's really hard to get an emotional attachment to a kid when he plays 1 year for your school. But you're going to have Florida State fans who are going to pull for him because of that, especially in the Orlando area. And then Orlando's got a second pick, and they're picking 5th and 8th. Their second pick, there's a lot of different rumors going around. Now, the 8th guy overall is Davion Mitchell from Baylor, but I don't believe they're expecting him to go to Orlando. From what I have seen is that they've got a guy by the name of Jonathan Kuminga, and I don't know a whole lot about him because, once again, he's one of these kids that did not play college basketball. He's from the Congo. He's a power forward, 6'8", but once again, really raw. Like, all these kids are really raw. The one kid that's probably the most polished that people are going to remember is Franz Wagner from Michigan. He's being projected now to go to Golden State at number 7. And that, to me, is a little strange because Golden State, let's say they find lightning in a bottle and Franz Wagner is the guy. and he actually does what he can do in college, can do it in the NBA. I have my doubts. He doesn't look like an NBA player to me. He doesn't move like an NBA player. He always looked a little slow to me. But let's say I'm totally wrong. If you add him to that arsenal of Golden State, that could be a scary situation. The kid that I'm most interested to see where he goes is Keon Thompson from Tennessee. Really good player. He's been guessed upon somewhere between the 8th and the 14th pick. I'm really interested to see where he ends up at. And then Jalen Johnson, remember him from Duke? He's looked upon as the number 12 pick overall. But realistically, tonight, the NBA draft, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to end up being more into what's going on in the Olympics, etc. I don't even know if I'll stream the NBA draft. I think I'll just look and see who everyone gets as they happen, because the commentary is usually terrible. And unless they do it differently, they normally don't have like Barkley and company on there doing it. They get their quote unquote NBA experts. And so there's not even like the entertainment value. And these are kids, man. These are high school kids. Kids have played 1 year in college. They don't know what the hell they're looking at either. These so-called experts, there's not enough of a sample size. And a lot of these kids, even the ones that did play college, they played very sparingly. So let's move on from that. Let's go to something that actually matters, which is Major League Baseball and what's going on with their situation. And Major League Baseball, you've got some trades that went down yesterday, and the New York Yankee fans are ready to take their parade around Central Park and toast all of New York as they've just won the 2021 World Series. They get Joey Gallo. That's what their fan base is telling you, okay? Their fan base is going crazy, thinking this is the greatest thing. I honestly think the guy that they really needed was Starling Marte in that outfield. But they did get that lefty bat. So that is a good sign. If I'm the Yankees, I'm still putting the foot to the gas, because Gallo's not going to bring you any closer to a World Series title. You're going to have to get another big-time starting pitcher. There's Berrios out there. There's Max Scherzer. The Yankees have to land one of those guys for me to consider them an absolute contender. If they want to do an overhaul and absolutely make an actual run at this, go get Rizzo from the Cubs. Put him at first base. Give him Luke Voit. The guy can't stay healthy, whatever. They'll think they found something there. Give him Luke Voit. Put Rizzo at first, Gallo in the outfield, and get either Scherzer or Berrios, along with Garrett Cole. Luis Severino's coming back. Now we're talking about a New York Yankee team who could definitely, I don't think that they can catch the Red Sox for the division, or the Rays for the division for that matter. But that gets them in the playoffs. You see how Seattle's basically half-assing it. They're bringing guys in, but they're also selling guys. And Seattle's not serious about trying to make the playoffs this year. The Yankees want to be serious. That's the move that they have to make. They absolutely have to make that move. They've got to get a starting pitcher. Now, the Rizzo thing doesn't have to happen, but they've got to get a starting pitcher. And it can't be he's pretty good. No, it's got to be someone that you can lean on. Even Kyle Gibson. Those are the three big starting pitchers that are out there for the deadline. And whoever goes out and gets these guys, those are going to be the ones that are looking at being serious in this contender. Gibson, I would tend to think he gets moved, especially now that they've moved Gallo. Because remember, Gallo had a year of control, and there was questions on whether or not they would actually trade him. Would they trade him, or would they try to keep guys like that? If they're going to trade him, why in the world would they trade Gibson to get as much as they can? Now, maybe they think that they can get more in the offseason. Remember something about the Major League Baseball trade deadline. This is it. We no longer have that waiver wire junk, which I absolutely despised. Remember the month of August, you could slip the guys. I hated that because then you don't have a true trading deadline. Give me a damn deadline, make obvious rules for the fan to follow, and let's go from there. They would do this. I must have gotten question after question after question for years, both during doing radio shows and just random people asking me that I would work with, etc. And say, dude, what the hell is this trading deadline in July? And then they can still make a trade in August. Can you explain that to me? I'm so glad those days are over. I knew what it was, and it still gave me a headache because it was a pain to keep up with. So the deadline is the deadline, and you're going to be looking at the big moves that happened yesterday. And I alluded to this in my walk-off. Or not walk-off, but batting practice. The Brewers got Eduardo Escobar. Eduardo Escobar is an infielder from the Diamondbacks. And if you're not familiar with him, he's a pretty good bat. Now, he only bats like 250. I think his average is like right at 246. But when you look at the Brewers batting average is terrible. It's terrible. It's one of the worst in baseball. I think their team batting average is like 232, I think is what I saw. It might even be lower than that. It's one of the worst in all of baseball. So he's actually an uptick in batting average, if that's possible. The 10-year-old me, the 10 years ago me sports fan is rolling over in its proverbial, I guess you can't roll over in your grave if it's 10 years ago, but whatever the hell you want to call that. I'm at a loss for words. The 10 years ago, if you would have told me that a team was running away with the division with a batting average of around 232, I'd say, what are you, nuts? What do they got? They got Drysdale and Koufax and Nolan Ryan. What is their pitching staff? And they've got a good pitching staff. They got a very good pitching staff, but it's not like all-time elite. But this kid, Escobar, well, I say kid, but he's actually a veteran. He's been in the league for, I want to say he's like 31, 32 years old. He gives them another bat. And remember the Willie Adames trade that they made earlier in the year? That has been a big deal. So this gives them a pretty darn good infield. And their outfield is not exactly chopped liver. The Brewers can make real noise. And this is it's a sneaky ad. Remember something about Escobar. He was wanted by a bunch of teams. The Mets wanted him. The White Sox wanted him. This was a really good get for the Brewers, but it's going to get overshadowed by Gallo going to the Yankees and Starlin Marte going to Oakland. Starlin Marte going to Oakland, that surprised me. I'm not going to lie, that surprised me because you don't normally see Starlin Marte being, when you normally see Starlin Marte being talked about in the trade rumors, it was mostly being talked about in the Eastern teams or the big name Western teams that had money. But how they got this deal done is the Marlins are going to pay the majority of his salary that's left. Now he's a free agent, but the majority of his salary that's left, so that they could get Luzardo as opposed to just some prospect. Now Luzardo's had a tough year, but Luzardo also has a track record of being really, really good. So it's a bit of a gamble for the Marlins on bringing him in as opposed to bringing in a younger kid that they could develop. So this is a win now kind of move, not win this year, but win next year kind of move. But it'll be interesting to see how it pans out for them, because the Marlins are not usually the team that's paying the bill for another team. That tells you how bad the Oakland finances are. but they essentially have given up, and they said, look, if you can do something with them, that's great, but we can't get Luzardo to be consistent. So they've gotten rid of him, and Marte is going to give them some pop in their offense. Yimi Garcia with the Astros, this is a big deal too. You add Yimi Garcia and you just added Graveman. This bullpen of the Astros has become extremely, I'm not going to say it's the best bullpen in baseball, but it's become very, very top 3. And you're going to have a hell of a hard time scoring runs late in games because the Astros are focused. You know what the Astros are looking at? They're looking at the fact that, all right, we are 103 games into the season. It's about 60 games left, and we have a 6-game lead in our division. We should hold on for the division title. So if you have to assume that we're going to hold on for the division title and win, it's really time to start focusing. How do you win those games in October, and how do you win them is you've got pretty, I still think the Astros are going to get one of those big pitchers that we talked about. I really believe that the Astros are going to get one of those frontline starting pitchers. They always make that move. Remember the Greinke trade a couple of years ago. So with putting all that together, they're looking at, we've got a good offense. In fact, we've got a great offense. They got one of the best offenses in baseball. So we're not worried about scoring runs. We got a pretty good pitching staff. We would like to add one more piece that makes us very, very difficult to beat in the postseason. But when we get that lead in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 9th inning, we've got to make sure we can get the bridge to the 9th inning and make that bridge much more stable so that in a game where I think they're looking at this, you look at the righties that they brought in. Why would they be bringing in so many righties? Because the Boston Red Sox have a right-handed heavy lineup. And I think they are looking at, in all intents and purposes, the Boston Red Sox are most likely going to be the team that is the biggest obstacle in the way of the Houston Astros. I know that the White Sox are there, and I get that, but they don't have the pedigree. They don't have the experience. Remember, they choked last year in the playoffs. They don't have what it takes, in my opinion, to get past either Boston or Houston in the first round. Houston and Boston are going to be, they're right, by the way, right now, Boston and Houston are a flat-footed tie at 63-40. They're not just fighting for their division. They're fighting to see who's going to get the first seed in Major League Baseball, or in the American League for the Major League Baseball playoffs. Because that's going to be a big deal. Boston, I don't think, wants any part of playing the winner of the Tampa Bay, New York wild card game, which very well could be the case, Tampa Bay, New York. But that's what you get if you win the 1 seed. I think Boston would much rather play the White Sox. I think Houston would much rather play the White Sox. Now, the White Sox have talent, but did you see Jimenez got hurt again? This guy can't stay healthy. We're going to be looking at a stretch where we get to the end. It'll be interesting to see if the Astros and Red Sox, let's say they have the division essentially put away in the final week. Let's say for some reason both of them have like a 5-game lead with 4 to play, but they're in a dead-footed tie, right? Flat-footed tie. Would you try to get the 1 seed, or would you say, "Man, dude, I'd rather have the 2 seed and play the Shy Sox. I feel like I got a better chance. I'll take my chances with the White Sox. That I don't want to go to Fenway if I'm not Fenway. if I'm Boston, I don't want to be in Fenway starting my series hosting the Yankees or the Rays. I think I'd much rather play the Yankees because the Rays seem to have Boston's number from time to time. But I can tell you this, Fox or ESPN, whoever's covering that first round, they would love to see a Boston Yankee best of 5. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into some football as it is Houston Texans Day. And also, we're going to get into what's happening in the world of sports. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here to CBS Sports Radio, YouTube Live. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Stupid interviews. Hey, you're a member of the Buffalo Bills. How does it feel?
Well, it's a blessing. I want to thank God. Going to try to do my best. It's a great organization. And I'll say the last 80 guys said. So, yeah.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in socially distanced dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Big news and the big games covered in the Big Ten by the Armchair Quarterbacks all year long.
Averaging just under 38 on 44 kicks this year. Nice high kick, a little wind under it, and it runs Howard back up. But it's really look at that. Oh my goodness. One man. Goodbye. Hello. Well, the ball is actually a little short of the 1 yard line now. It is 4th down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Andre Johnson, Roscoe Parrish, and Kellen Winslow and Dorsey under pressure. Throws it. Incomplete. The Buckeyes win. They went to Hickman, and Penn State well-timed blitz. LeVar Arrington, the All-America candidate, came across. Well, it was a great athletic play by LeVar Arrington. As you see, he times his blitz very well, leaves his feet, and hits Hickman in the backfield.
Big Ten football covered in the Southeast by the Armchair Quarterbacks.
When I was your age, they would say we could become cops or criminals. Today, what I'm saying is this. When you're facing a loaded gun, what's the difference?
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Find us on Facebook today.
It all starts with just one thing. Glass jars can be reused to store food and spices, as a holder for combs and brushes in the bathroom, or as a container for plants and homemade candles, in addition to simply being recycled. Find tips and more at onethingus.com.
What's happening in sports? Find out when it happens. Get the CBS Sports app free in the Android market and iTunes App Store.
You play to win the game.
Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Unbelievable. That's all I'll say about today. All right, let's go ahead and get into a couple of things before we dive into the Houston Texans, which, by the way, I'm going to call it right as I see it. They'll be the worst team they'll be the worst team in the National Football League this year. There's no way they're not. When this putts right here, that's to my right, when he's your best player and he's your leader, you have no shot in hell of doing anything this year. None whatsoever. Whoops, wrong button. No way in hell is he going to make any kind of a difference. He doesn't even have Will Fuller anymore. I mean, it's a nightmare. JJ Watt's off the reservation. It makes you wonder if JJ smelled what The Rock was cooking. Because he's like, I gotta get away from these mamby-pamsies. All right, what's happening in the world of sports? All right, so this is of right now. Don't quote me on 10 seconds from now, but as of right now, we're looking at a doubleheader of the Nats Phillies to be played at 12:05. It is a makeup from yesterday's game, which was Ixnade 86, whatever you want to call it, because of 12 COVID positives. Now, none of these guys are showing symptoms. I don't know how many were vaxxed, but one thing you can say for sure, the people who have been vaxxed are the ones who have not been showing much symptoms, if any at all. And so that, I will say this, and I'm not going to tell anyone that they have to go get a vaccine. That's stupid. But the proof is in the pudding. You do your own math, but these vaccines tend to be working. I'm sure there's going to be a case here and there, but for all intents and purposes, it's been working. That even if you get it, and when you get it, all it's saying is that the virus is on you. But the reason why you're not feeling anything is because you've gotten vaccinated and it's not penetrating your immune system. But anyways, we'll see if that happens today. If it doesn't, fear not, sports fans, because we've got a lot of really good baseball today. You've got the Braves and Mets are finishing up their 5-game series, which the Braves crapped the bed last night. Max Fried had a pretty good pitching effort. It could have unraveled early, by the way, and he held on, gave up. He gave up 2 runs. And once again, Snick, I mean, I'm telling you right now, a 9-year-old on a PlayStation could outmanage Brian Snicker. But he left Fried in for 1 too many innings. A guy that has been known to run out of gas in a low-scoring game, and you left him in, which gave up the home run ball. Now, Riley come back and tied it up, but the Braves ended up losing last night, so they're going to try to win this series. If they can win the series, they will be within 5 games. I'm sorry, they're within 5 games right now. If they can win the series, they'll be within 4. If they lose, it'll be 6. It's a big game, and it's Taijuan Walker, who's been really tough on the Braves this year. He is going up against Drew Smyly. Drew Smyly, remember, his knee was barking the other night. We'll see what happens. I'm not having a lot of confidence that Drew Smyly is going to be able to pitch an entire game, because normally if your knee starts barking at you, there's a good chance that this is a sign for things to come. But the Yankees and Rays, they're at 110 as well. That should be a lot of fun. Garrett Cole on the mound against Luis Patino. At 220, Cubs and Reds, no one really cares about that junk because both teams are essentially having – I know the Reds are making moves, but I really don't see how the Reds are going to make a run for the Central. The Brewers are really good. They're not fool's gold, and they've got a commanding lead. So the moves that the Reds are making – I have to credit their front office that they're trying to make this a fun summer for the Cincinnati fans. And I haven't done a deep dive on how many of those middle relievers that they've acquired do they have control over. But all in all, I will say this. I've got to give the Reds management credit. And, of course, we don't know how many Cubs will actually hit the field today, because with them most likely trading off their entire farm, they might bench a lot of guys. You might see a guy come out in the 3rd inning By the way, Suni Lee of the United States won the gold in the all-around competition. So you got that going on. So now that that's plastered all over this is my point. Now that that's plastered all over the place, how many people are going to watch? It's really cool that she did it, especially considering the fact that, we got these softies like Simone Biles that won't show up for work and she quit. Suni Lee, I think that's great that she won it. But how many people are going to watch now? A true gymnastics fan will, because they want to see how it happened. Most people are going, hey, I'll watch a movie. I might put it on a device and have it just so I can see how it happened in real time, so to speak. But when that stuff gets plastered all over the place, it ruins it all. See, when people talk about, when you compare these Olympics, I'm going to kill this. When you talk about these Olympics compared to other Olympics, we'll just take, for instance, the 1980 Olympics, which obviously had great ratings for the Winter Olympics. And when the U.S. beat the Soviet Union, there was a lot of other factors going on. First of all, you never had anyone even remotely even thinking about turning their back on the national anthem, but put that aside. Put that aside. They had only at that time 3 major channels, because I don't believe Fox came along until 83, 84-ish. Okay. And even then, Fox was not considered a major channel. They were like, we're going to be a new major channel, but it's going to take us 15 years. We're going to have to get the NFL licensing before we become a major network. So you only had 3 major channels. Not many people had cable. You didn't have nothing else to watch. And it was really easy to stay away from what happened in these games, mainly because the Lake Placid game, that game was played during the daytime. It was played, obviously, in the United States. It was played during the daytime, and it was replayed later that night so the fans could see. Well, it was really easy to stay away from. You didn't have Twitter. You didn't have any kind of internet. And if you wanted to stay away from it, what a lot of Americans did that night was, even when they watched their local news, the local news would say, and here's a disclaimer in case you're trying to stay away from it all. We're about to tell you the results of what happened in the Olympics today. And Americans would either turn the volume down, change the channel, whatever the hell, turn the TV off, and they come back 20 minutes later, turn their TV back on, and away we go. That blurb there, you could open up Facebook and some friend of yours shares it right now. You can say, I don't want to know. I'm not going to turn on Twitter. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to do nothing sports related. You could open up Facebook and some jackass has ruined it for you. You can turn on, you can go, I'm not going to do any of these today. What's on TikTok? The 5th video. Someone go, it's so great. It's suddenly won that. It's impossible to stay away from it. And sports is not fun when you know the answer, right? It's not fun when you know who's going to win. It's really hard to sit there and go, all right, let's get fired up. Let's watch this. That I already know what's going to happen. That's why they don't tape delay the Super Bowl. But I understand why they play it when they play it. They're trying to get their primetime audience in Japan to watch. So there you have that. And there is no easy answer for that across the board. I mean, what is the solution? Play all the major events at the butt crack of dawn so that the U.S. sees it in primetime live. But then what about all the Asian population is much bigger than the U.S. population. So they don't give it. And newsflash, Japan doesn't give a damn what NBC's ratings are. They care about their ratings. Okay. A couple other things in what's happening today. Javi Baez was fined. Javi Baez was fined and not suspended for his antics. I'm not an Amir Garrett fan. He's a jackass. He's a big mouth that really doesn't back it up, so to speak. He did the thing in the Pirates dugout, but he knew that was going to get broken up. But he's more he's a fire starter. That's all he is, a fire starter. He likes getting in the middle of it. He really just wants the attention because Amir Garrett is a good, but he's not great, and I think that bothers him. But Javi Baez, when he did his walk-off celebration acting like the sweep, I get why he did it. But I don't get why he wasn't suspended. Because Amir Garrett was suspended, and they're supposed to be cracking down on taunting. They're supposed to be saying, hey, we want you to celebrate, but we don't want you to taunt. You know a good way to send that message? Suspend a guy whose team's not in the playoff race. The Cubs suck. They're selling everyone off. None of these Cubs are going to be Cubs 48 hours from now. Well, no, this is Thursday. 36 hours from now. The Cubs suck. So why would benching him in late July matter? That was dumbfounding. Big 12 commissioner Bob Bowlesby. I'll get more into this in the bottom of the hour on the Take Me Out to the Ball game, which is coming up. It'll be dropping at 9:30 Eastern. But he is claiming that ESPN is doing a number on the Big 12. His claim is that ESPN is trying to break up the Big 12 sooner than later, so a lot of teams leave, it dissolves, and Oklahoma and Texas don't have to pay the big time price of leaving early. I'll say this, there's something to what he's saying, but I don't have time to get into now. You get to it at the bottom of the hour. Same channel, it just pops up on YouTube at 9:30 on the premiere. Dak Prescott, right shoulder strain. They say he'll be fine. We'll see. That's a little scary if you're a Cowboy fan. Like, oh, crap. Because usually a guy has a shoulder strain, especially because they're not doing contact practice, because he's overcompensating because his leg's not ready. So he's putting more pressure on his shoulder. So you have to keep an eye on that. And Deshaun Watson is in camp, so that takes us full circle. We're talking the Houston Texans. And we are going to, with the Houston Texans, we are going to go ahead and look at their schedule, but I don't really think there's a point in it. Most of these teams we look at their schedule and say, what could their record be? And I'm all prepared to have egg on my face. I'm all prepared to find out, man, was I wrong? And they made the playoffs. There is no way in hell this team's making the playoffs. I'll say that right now. I don't care if the Jaguars, Titans, and Colts all stink at the same time this year. They're not going to be as bad as the Houston Texans. Not over a 17-game season. So the Texans are going to play, obviously, they're going to play their division game, so I won't go over those. That's redundant. But they are going to play at the Browns, home against the Panthers, at the Bills. No way they win either one of those road games. They're home against the Patriots, at the Cardinals, home against the Rams, at the Dolphins, home against the Jets, Seahawks at home, Chargers at home, and at the 49ers. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 road games, meaning 9 home games. So they're one of the divisions that's going to get the extra home game, right? It's still not going to help them. And honestly, if they can get something, now I'm not saying trade Deshaun Watson for nothing. Don't just give him away. The guy's still an incredible talent. And he's eventually going to hit the field, whether he gets suspended or not for all his creepiness. He's going to hit the field at some point and still be a hell of a talent. And teams know that. But I think you need to ride it out with him this year. You might even want to be really smart and go to the league office and say, can you go ahead and suspend this guy, please? Please suspend him. We don't want him to start. We don't want this guy to start one bit. Please go ahead and suspend him. Because we don't want to hurt our draft capital with him, and we don't really want to win games. We're tanking for something. Even if we trade him to bring in a young quarterback, we are tanking for something. The Houston Texans are on the clock. That's how bad they'll be. And if you bench him, you've got Tyrod Taylor, who is a good NFL quarterback. He's good. He's realistically your backup for a lot of reasons. We know that. But he's good, but he's not great. And you would need a great quarterback to navigate this season with the Houston Texans. So I say bench Deshaun Watson via going to the league and saying, hey, if you don't suspend him, we're gonna. So you need to go ahead and lay the law down and grow a pair, because you've done nothing about this all season long. They have done absolutely nothing about this. It really is dumbfounding that this team can be all season long or all off season long, and nothing's come down about this. Why are they dragging their damn feet? I'd be a little pissed off if I were Antonio Brown. They were pretty quick to throw the hammer on him. And he's only done a fraction of what Deshaun Watson's being accused of. Get him suspended. I'd say, hell, I don't care how long you suspend him. I don't care. 8 games, 10 games, whatever. Let him be suspended. Let him come back. Continue to ride him on the pine, because you don't want to win those games. You don't want him to come back and get lightning on a bottle and win like four of the last 6 games playing spoiler, ruin your draft capital. Not to mention a non-injured Deshaun Watson equates into much better trade possibilities. And then make a trade with a team that feels like they are a Deshaun Watson away from winning it all. And you can wait till the end of the season so you can see where everyone's draft capital is at. I wouldn't trade Deshaun Watson right now because his value is an all-time low, but he's going to be much more than that without a doubt. Hold on to him and then go from there. All right, it's time to turn back time, because look, you look at the rest of their defense lost a lot, but look at their offense. David Johnson is suddenly the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to Houston offense. That's sad. That is absolutely sad that the Houston, listen to their wide receiving core now that they've lost everybody. Hell, they even got rid of Will Fuller, who's by far the most talented wide receiver that they've. He was probably more talented than D-Hop ever was, but he's never been able to stay healthy. And now he got suspended because of the PEDs. But listen to this wide receiving core. Brandon Cooks, who's always been overrated. Kiki Kuti, you might as well put MASH on the back of his jersey. That dude could not stay healthy. They bring in Anthony Miller. And then at running back, you got David Johnson, Philip Lindsay, and oh, by the way, remember they signed Mark Ingram. Bleh. Bleh. Put Tyrod Taylor in there, run a very, very terrible version of the wishbone and call it a day. All right, it's time to turn back time. Here we go. This team's gonna be so bad. It's gonna suck when the Jags lose to them in the first week because Deshaun will probably play. And he'll find a way to beat a very young, inexperienced team in Jacksonville. But when it's all said and done, that might help Jacksonville out at the end because when you get to the very end of the season, there'll be two of the worst records. And maybe they get the tiebreaker because they lose that opening game. Opening game for the Texans is against Jacksonville. All right, turn back time. On this date, one of my favorite players of all time, in 1908, Rube Waddell strikes out 16 of his former teammates when the Browns, that's right, the St. Louis Browns defeat the Philadelphia A's at Sportsman's Park 5-4. During the offseason, a frustrated Connie Mack, Philadelphia's owner and manager, traded Rube Waddell to St. Louis. Mack was not a fan of Waddell. Waddell was the biggest wild card that's ever played professional sports. I don't have time to get into it today, but he's got some stories. And remember Connie Mack? This guy wore a three-piece suit in the dugout with a bowler until he retired in the 1950s. He was not what you would consider a free spirit, as Rube Waddell was. Birthdays. It's your birthday today. What does that mean? All right. Let's go ahead and go to a guy that probably should get more pub than he does, but as generations go on, obviously people get forgotten about. Let's go to Ted Lindsay. Born in 1925, he passed away just 2 years ago. Canadian Hockey Hall of Fame. He's a left winger. Won the Art Ross Trophy in 1950. Born in Ontario, Canada. He was a guy that my grandfather would talk about. Was a big fan of this guy and just really enjoyed his career. So want to give a shout out to him. My grandfather did not talk hockey much. This is the one that grew up in Brooklyn, but he definitely knew who he was. Grab someone who's still kicking. How about grab one off the cusp, and we'll go with. I'll tell you what, this is kind of a lean day for birthdays, to be perfectly honest with you. But we'll go with Mike Williams. He was a reliever for the Philadelphia Phillies. He is 53 years old. God, has he been out that long? And we'll also go with Johnny Ruffin. Y'all remember him? He's 50 today. He was a pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. He would have been pitching for the Reds in the mid 90s, just right after their World Series run. And I remember him in the 95, I think it was NLCS. So happy birthday to him. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Have a great day today. Tomorrow we will have Justin Waller. We will have Matt Carr. And of course, remember 8:00 Eastern, the Tony Aguilini Gators and Golf with Tony. That is tomorrow, as well as we got a lot of stuff we're going to get into with him, because I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. Excited to talk to Tony. All right, we will see you. Have a great rest of your day. And catch you some baseball. Take Me Out to the Ball Game is now dropping on the Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube. We shall see you.
Goodbye, sweetheart, well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart, goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.